Sentry mode activated. Target acquired.
Hey there, hunters. Now, I bet you didn't think I'd make another video on Palico and Prowler stuff for a game that's 5 years old at this point, but you'd be wrong. Now, it is a prime time to actually get back into GU 2. Sure, PC version Rise is around the corner, but it is going to have the same content as the Switch version, so it won't really have anything new until Sunbreak. Plus, I'm sure there's plenty of people who aren't going to be playing it on PC, so if you can, play some GU. It's really good. Anyway, the whole point of this video is going to be discussing setting up Palico and Prowler builds for those who are unsure where to begin. This will be applying to base GU as well as those who have Arati's Cope Edition mod. If you have a modded Switch or are playing in an emulator, I will link my previous video that shows how to set that up and how to put the Cope Edition mod together, which does buff low tier weapons such as Cat, Hunting Horn, Gun Lance, Switch Axe, and non-striker lance. Alright, so Prowler is effectively the 15th weapon in Generations, and while its inputs are very simple, it's a very diverse weapon with an infinite amount of possibilities for your playstyle. The problem with the weapon is that base GU Prowler is bad, like really bad. Like, don't let anyone tell you otherwise. It's worse than Hunting Horn, it's worse than Gun Lance, it does like no damage, it's bad. That being said, it's still pretty fun, so if you want to give it a try, then this will be a good starting point. So everything for cats can be done at this post that's in your house, the Palico Ranch, and the prep areas and the gathering halls. The only things that you can't do here and that must be done at the ranch is the training, and then the scouting can be done at any village and the ranch. So if you'd like to start playing Prowler, the first things you need to do is look at each style of the cat and decide what you want to play. Each style has 4 active skills and 2 passives that you pretty much can't change, though you can pass down these skills to whatever cats you want with some minor restrictions. So let's take a look at each of the cats and see what the differences are. So the base stats for all the cats are only slightly different for each of the Palicos. Like, while it looks like there's a good chunk of raw for melee and damage between, like, you know, assist and beast, like 22, that's base raw before any of the weapons are considered. So your cat's gonna have like 400 raw at level 99 with like their maxed out weapons and some skills. So a difference of like 20 is like 5%. It's not a huge deal. And even like some of the other cats have like, you know, differences of 5 raw. It's really nothing you should consider. So ultimately, these don't matter a whole lot, just more so for super min-maxers out there. So what you really want to consider is the cat's type, because each type has a different ability in Generations Ultimate. So let's go down the list. Charisma Palicos are the support Palico, kind of like Hunting Horn for cats. It has only one active skill, which is Palico Rally, and that is a horn that will increase all your Palico and Prowler damage by 10% and your defense by 20%. Charisma cats get the added bonuses of getting an additional C tier skill, which I will cover later. And by default, its 2 passive skills will always have are Sacker Slap, which will let you hit Palicos and prevent them from slacking off for a bit, and the other one is Last Stand, which will remove your acorns but grant you 40 more attack and defense. Dealer's choice on if that's usable. These cats tend to be better as Palicos since they can use the horn to buff you as a Prowler, but they don't offer any actual unique skills other than like their extra 1 active skill. So they're actually really useful as Palicos because they get more stuff to use, but as a Prowler, they don't really give you anything. Fighting Palicos are the overall good damaging cats. They have access to the Furious skill, which will let you forcibly enter the angered state, which grants earplugs and increased affinity, and gives the fighter cat an aerial style dodge when angered. Outside of using this skill, cats only become angered when taking X amount of damage or after X amount of time minus damage taken, kind of like how latent power works. Now, fight cats are great for close range and long range combat, as well as mounting thanks to the aerial jump. Their innate skill is Handicraft, which as you would imagine increases your sharpness level by 1, which is really good, except it costs 4 of the memory, which is kind of a lot. Now, guard Palicos are obviously the guard Palicos, shocker I know, right? They always have a depth guard on block, making them very safe from attacks if you can time your blocks right. And you can follow up the adept guard with the aerial jumping spin attack or the boomerang swiping finisher. Now, guard Palicos are the only Palicos that come with guard up, allowing them to block pretty much everything. They also have a unique ability with a taunt skill, which as you can imagine lets you taunt monsters and hold aggro. It's not something hunters can do. Assist Palicos are the trappers. They come with poison pitfall traps, which are amazing and do exactly what it says it does. It's a pitfall trap that also poisons the monster. It's pretty nice. Their passive skill is Monster Radar, which tells you when a monster is capturable and what state it's in. And the other skill is Pro Trapper, which reduces the cost of their traps by 1. Assist cats also get a third boomerang to use in their boomerang combo, which hits during the windup as well as throwing, making it really nice for down monsters or in melee range, but it also does make assist cats one of the more de facto ranged boomerang setup cats. Recovery cats, kind of bad in my eye, gonna pass on those. Bomber cat. Okay, so bomber cat is interesting. Now what makes them great is that they have adept dodge, and you drop a bomb behind you when you successfully dodge with it. You can use other skills out of the roll to save some frames too. The bombs themselves are not that good though. Their active skill is a Mega Barrel Bomb, which has really low modifiers and ultimately in a G-Rank game doesn't do a lot of damage. And even the biggest bomb, the Giga Barrel Bomb, which is 100 motion value, is actually not that much for taking 4 meters to cast and how long it takes to throw. And even with their passive skills with bomb boost damage, it's only like a 1.2 modifier compared to other cats, and 20% more of like no damage is still no damage. So bomb cats end up being the ranged cats, but with a depth dodge. That's what people focus on them for. Now collect palicos, these are effectively the same as the assist cat in that they have the neutral dodge and get a third boomerang combo, and they have 6 more raw over assist cats, but instead of getting traps you get plundering to steal materials from monsters should you need that, and pilfer boost, which reduces the cost of pilfer and plundering, so you can steal more items. Now min-maxers tend to pick the collect cat over the assist cat just for that pure 6 extra raw, but it also has lower defense, and to me I'd rather have the traps and the defense over 6 raw, so I prefer assist cats, but these cats are pretty much interchangeable. And lastly, we have the Beast Cat, which is interesting because it's the new cat and actually unique because besides having just stats and a different jump, they actually have an entirely new moveset. Unleash the Beast puts you into beast mode that completely changes your attacks and focuses on melee style, similar to a longsword though. You need to do combo finishers to rank up your beast level and to get unlock bonuses. Now it doesn't last that long though, so trying to build up your gauge typically ends up being like a DPS loss. If you do though, your level 1 gives you rock steady, which lets you not get knocked around by little hits and prevents tremors. Level 2 give you 15% affinity, and level 3 puts you in SP mode, which would increase your meter buildup. At this point, your finisher attack gets an additional attack, kind of like how Insect Glaive would if you got your red bar. Now, Beast Cats can't block, but instead they get a backflip on your R1, which is better than the standard Prowler dodging, which is god awful by the way. Cats have like no iframes. Now Beast Cat also comes with the critical boost passive, which functions exactly the same as Hunter, and the rousing roar skill, which would grant additional damage and prevent stun for nearby allies for 90 seconds. So that's the basic rundown of each of the cats and what's unique about them. Cat main unique skills can't be passed down, such as Taunt, Furious, Beast Mode, Poison Pitfall, stuff like that. Now with that out of the way, let's talk about our optimal setups for each of the cats. Now obviously some things can be changed for whatever reason, but first let's state that yes, boomerangs are the best for every cat besides Beast Cat because it can't use boomerangs. Their motion values, the buffs, the attacks are just overall better DPS, so pretty much all the cats end up going that route for damage. I'll go over the skills for each cat briefly so you can see what you should be using really fast, and then afterwards I'll explain how to set up your cats and then go into the Cope Edition changes. So let's start with the Fight Cat though. For its active skills, you want to have Pierce Boomerangs as its second starting skill that it comes with the class. Then you want to get Big Boomerangs to further buff your boomerangs, and 1 or 2 gauge jumps such as Claw Dance or Mega Boomerang or both. So you have at least 1 melee attack and 1 range attack with the boomerangs. And lastly, you're going to need 1 supportive skill such as Emergency Retreat or Soothing Roll to heal and cleanse off your statuses. And lastly, Forbidden Acorn. So you can eat that and start a fight with 3 bars to get full boomerang buffs to start. It saves a lot of time. Now for the passive skills or the memory stuff, we're going to be looking at, and it's going to be similar to pretty much all the cats. First is that you're going to need earplugs and Boomerang Pro. While this cat does have aerial dodge, it's really inconsistent for roars. And other than the bomber and the guard cat who have the adept roll and adept block, every other cat's got neutral dodge, which is terrible. So earplugs is going to be really good to help you save time and not get wombo comboed. Now if you have the DLC cats, weakness, exploit, and range attack up are going to be your optimal other passives here, with crit up small being like your leftover slot, so that can also be something like non-stick fur or tremor res should you need those. Now without the DLC cats, crit large and evade boost probably your next best bets. Evade boost is actually really good. It's like evasion +2, and it really helps you get your aerial dodges off and just not die, because cats have terrible iframes. For guard cats, kind of melee focused, but you still want boomerangs to be an option. So weapon upgrade buff to increase your attack affinity is a good choice, as well as big and pierce boomerangs. You can teach pierce boomerangs from another cat that has it, and of course you want forbidden acorn for the buffs at the start, soothing roll or emergency retreat. Though here I would pick soothing roll just because you can actually learn it, you don't have to pass down an emergency retreat. The other nice things you can fit in if you want to pass them down are traps and dung pods if you want to use those. The passive skills, you actually don't need guard up large, like it's not mandatory. So as long as you adept the guard, you can just need guard boost so you can block everything. You're going to want Boomerang Pro, pretty much mandatory for all cats sadly. Counter boost is actually another great option here as it gives you more meter when you take a hit, and getting the adept block still counts as taking a hit, so it's free meter gain. And again, if you have the DLC cats, weakness exploit and range attack up, you want those passed down. Otherwise, anything else to fill in, such as crit up large, and maybe if you want guard up large just to be safe, go with those. And also, I'm telling you, Tremor Res and non-stick fur are huge. If you have the extra 1 slot, use those. Now, assist, bomb, and collect cats are pretty much all going to be exactly the same. They're heavy focus into boomerangs only. So pierce boomerangs, large boomerangs, and mega boomerangs. Forbidden acorn for the buff, soothing roll, or emergency retreat for heals and cleanse. If you can get dung pods in, great, teach it. Very valuable, escape pins, force monsters leave, good stuff. Their passives are all pretty much the same too. Boomerang Pro, crit up small, crit up large, earplugs, and then, Tremor Res, non-stick fur, wind resistance, any of those. And of course, if you have the DLC cats, then your setup is going to be range attack up, weakness exploit, earplugs, boomerang, crit small. That's it. That is like the optimal boomerang cat setup. Bomb cat can kind of swap out of earplugs for counter boost as it still applies to the adept evade, it's free gauge, and you really shouldn't need earplugs anyway if you have the adept evade. Now lastly, we have Beast Cat. Simple, it's all melee. So you're going to want weapon upgrade, forbidden acorn, claw dance, and then go fight win is nice. It lets you spam heals if you need it, and if you got a bunch of meter, you can put on all your buffs and stuff for a lot cheaper. Then either emergency retreat or soothing roll, and then you want dung bombs as well. For the passive skills, you can grab crit up large and artful dodger, which makes Beast Cat feel like evade 3 Lancing for you. I'm telling you, artful dodger is like, it's almost mandatory. Now your last 4 points are kind of up to you. Handicraft passed down for fighter cat is actually a decent option if you don't have the DLC cats. If you do though, you need extend beast to prolong your beast timer, and you want weakness exploit. These are a must. Crit boost is honestly not that great for cats as it costs too much meter. I mean, it's 4 memory basically. Defensive skills like Tremor Res, wind resistance, earplugs will probably save you much more time in a fight anyway. So that's the active and passive skills you want for your cats. Now in order to set them up, you need to scout your palicos from various cat grannies in each of the towns and check their active and passive skills. Now passive skills are handed out in groups when they are generated. Passive and active skills each have their own table as shown here. It will pull a skill randomly from each of the groups that it has slots for, and this applies to both active and passive skills. I know this is kind of sounding weird, but trust me, you'll get it. You can see what the group each cat will spawn with by simply checking the skills it has and find out what groups they go into. Then all you need to do is find a cat that has the same active and passive groups for what you need for your cat that you want. It shouldn't take too long if you just scout by cat type. So if you go beast cat, just search through all the beast cats until they find one that matches what you need. You do this because you can use the feline codexes to swap around all the skills within their category. So you have a cat that's got A, B, B, and C in their active skills, you can come to the training area here and change any A skill to any A skill, the B skills to any B skills, and so on. So when you want to plan out for what you want for cats, just scout a cat that has a matching group and swap your skills around as you need to until your cat is all set up. So you can easily just start writing down all the different skills, which I'll have here, and then just kind of, piecing together, what fits best for you, and then just find a cat that fits into that category. It does sound weird, trust me, but you'll figure it out. So you can farm these feline codexes by doing the Prowler quests, though you do need to do the GU versions. So like the Village 8 to 10 stars, the Hub G1 through G5s, and some of the DLC Palico quests can all give codexes. You can use these to swap around your Palico skills. And in case you're not aware, you can easily pass time for the training by doing the Horns of Plenty village quest, which is a 1-star village quest where you just deliver 3 Kelby horns to the box where you spawn. And good news is that you can just buy Kelby horns from the trader, so it goes really fast. Just go in, drop the horns off, collect your cat, rinse and repeat. Alright, so that was a lot of info on setting up your cats, but let me finish this up by dropping off some random tips and info, and then we're going to go over Cope Edition changes. First, here's a list of all the best in class weapons for, ranged and melee type. When you're checking the weapons, make sure you check both melee and boomerang stats. Palicos have 2 different attack stats on each weapon. Now, if you're going to go Beast Cat, the best combo I found is just alternating the neutral X and the A for the jumping attacks. They have high motion value and make you use without moving more than other Beast Cat combos, plus they can be interrupted with the backflip pretty reliably. Now, between Emergency Retreat and Soothing Roll, dealer's choice. Soothing Roll takes longer to use, but Emergency Retreat can get interrupted by Tremors and Roar. Soothing Roll is also a C tier skill, which is easy to obtain on any cat, while Emergency Retreat must be passed down from another cat. Now, there are a few other useful active skills for cats, such as Feline Comet, which does pretty good damage, can reposition you really well, and costs 0 if you have Go Fight Win active from another cat. Sumo Stomp acts as pretty much a temporary iframe attack. It does a little bit of damage, but you just use it to evade an attack. Flash Bug Bombay, obviously flash pods, you kind of need those. Trampoline is really good if you want to focus on mounts, because monsters stay down for a lot longer on a mount, so it's really easy to spam like Claw Dance when you have Trampoline up. Now, the Chestnut Cannon is also pretty good for KO if you're using blunt weapons. It is kind of hard to aim, but trust me, it does a lot of KO. Now, if you have room in your cat slots for them, you should try putting these in. They're pretty fun. And now lastly, we can discuss changes for Cope Edition that you should consider. Let's start with the Bomb Cat. Now, I already upped the modifier for bombs to be really high due to how long they take to use. Bomb Cats can now be a primary source of damage, so you can use the Mini Barrel Bomb Day, which costs 0, as a spammable fixed damage attack to build meter, and then use other explosives such as Giga Barrel Bombs and Monster Mines to deal some serious damage to enemies. So with this, you can forego the Boomerang active skills and support skills, and hyper focus on raw and other damaging skills. This also means you should focus on high raw weapons and not the elemental focused ones that I'm going to be listing before. Fighter and Guard Cat also got a nice boost to getting additional meter build up on their aerial spin finishers. After an aerial dodge or an adept block, aerial spin can be used to build up almost 1.5 bars alone, assuming you land most of it, which, it makes gauge sustain pretty easy on these 2 cats. Really good for spamming abilities such as Claw Dance. Alright, so let's talk about some other skills. Claw Dance did get a motion value bump from like 136 to 195, making it very strong for down monsters, especially for the Beast and Fighter Cat. Now, Wrath of Meow, which is the tank, got a sizable motion value buff as well and counts as an explosive, so while you have that on in like Landmaster, you can make for a really good tank cat. Mega Boomerangs for some reason did less damage if you're using a blunt weapon over cut, presumably because it does KO, but Cat's KO is super low, so we just made it match the cut Boomerang. You can also shift around some of your passive skills with Cope Edition. Now, Handicraft and Crit Boost got their memory cost reduced from 4 to 2, making them much more viable to fit into builds over things like Range Attack Up, which is only a 5% damage boost, and going from White to Purple Sharpness is like 10% or like 11, I forget what it is. It's a pretty good boost. And this does help bridge the gaps from Melee, because Melee had more weapons that weren't using Purple Sharpness anyway. This means you also need to change what weapons you're using, as you can use the stronger weapons with worse sharpness. Alright, so I know that's kind of a huge amount of info dump for an old game, and I hope it does help you get started into Prowler, but that's pretty much it though. So thanks, and good luck out there, hunters.